What I have here is I have fairly few number of slides really with the focus of, from the operational point of view, I hope it will help some of the marketing or brand teams of what are the big picture to look at. Because I think I have a lot of experts like Vivek sitting here who will actually give you expertise of what to do. But as marketing and brand teams, you should have the ability to ask them or give them a brief or get the best expertise out of them. So it's really more of a landscaping which I'm presenting right now. I think key objective, it might be a little bit of back to basics, but the key objective, whenever we are doing some activity, especially in the so-called digital space, what is the one single objective? It can be everything, but what is it? What stage is your business and brand in? Is it in just a stage of communication? That means you are using digital or the mobile world only for creation of media. It's another media vehicle. That's first. Or is it communication and engagement? All the discussion which we had around, apps, around social media, lot of it is about engagement. And numbers will prove the amount of time we as consumers spend on some of the social networks, and I'm not naming the brands, quite substantial. Especially if you look at cuts of consumers. If you look at the SECA in the top 8 metros, SECA in Mumbai, Delhi, Calcutta, SECA1, you can actually have media data to see what level of engagement. And of course, there are fine tunes to engage. So I think from a marketing team point of view, it's very important to define the goal very precisely. And the third one, which lot of us do, and it's important, I don't think it's unimportant, is can we actually help in getting revenue? And internationally, there are, large brands who have actually done it, where they have used this for lead generation, for revenue. Some of them have used it for problem solving. So digital medium has been used. Lead generation, very important. I have handled brands in the last 4 years where I have actually used only for lead generation. A classic example I can give right now. I think around 5 years ago or 4 years ago, I launched a brand when I was CMO of Reliance Retail called iStore. iStore is the Apple store in India, launched by Reliance Retail. And in iStore, we did not use the digital medium and the social medium for anything because the brand was already there. The brand pool was being created by Apple. We were selling only Apple products. For us, we use the digital media and the social media only to primarily do lead generation. So there are examples where you can do, and these are big companies, big brands, where you can do that. So I think as a marketing stroke business team, to me, this is the fundamental of deciding, agreeing, generating what you really want out of your so-called digital, social, whatever you call. This I think we have talked about. These are right now the digital landscape of the various things which you can do. Why I have even put website? Because in my last 22 years, and especially in my last 10 years, 8 years that we have had the so-called digital thing coming in, there are still brands and companies who have to still do a usable website. For a lot of people here who are in the thick of things, for them, it's taken for granted that every product and company would have a website. Not necessarily true. Yeah, so I think that's a starting point. Do you need a website? If so, is it an effective, usable website? Or rather, where can people land to? Can they land somewhere? You call it a website, you can call it a blog, you can call it a portal, you can call it anything. Sometimes it might be that the social platform becomes more important than the website. Possible. Typically, whenever I do a digital review of a business or a new business which I'm taking over, these are some of the things which I keep on doing. Some of this is slightly operational brass tacks for the business teams. So this is not really too much of strategic stuff because we have heard a fair amount of strategic stuff. So I thought, let me put in a certain amount of brass tacks. Define and try to understand your web presence. website analytics, usability, SEO. I think all of you know about it. But this is generally the way we go around doing things. At least do a review on each of them. Where are we? Like I know in one company which I was there, and very, very large conglomerate. Very large conglomerate. $5 billion plus, $10 billion plus. I'm purposely not naming. One of the largest conglomerates of India. We were only in 1 and 2 possibly. We were not there in anything. We were not actively doing anything. Things were happening. People were talking about on the media, on digital reviews, everything was happening. But nothing was being actively driven. This is in a very, very large company. And not too long ago. Few years ago. It's not like I'm talking of 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Few years ago. So this is one roadmap, some of the people can look at. These are, I think, all of you know what are the various things which can happen. But this is an interesting one. I think, Anurag, you already presented this figure in your presentation. This is how the digital advertising part, and this I'm talking only the advertising part. There's a lot of things on digital which are non-advertising. This is how the revenues get stacked up. A lot of it in display, a lot of it in search. Search obviously means going a lot to Google. A lot of online classified going to all people. Mobile advertising is still small. Maybe this is a big one for the future. There's a possibility if all of us sit together and see whether it makes sense. Because clearly in terms of reach, personalization, this will be one thing which in India, I think in the next 4-5 years, very difficult to beat anything. Just the sheer numbers and the way the country is and the way it is moving. Whatever form, whether it is a 3G or 4G, this remains the same. This is an interesting slide I picked up as I was trying to do some late night research also. Actually, which industries are really spending? I wish I could do some more interesting
to be my friend.
Figures, I wish, yeah. So this is how really the spend right now is. And this is right now. See, it will, in 1 year, this will change. And this is not to say that every category should not be in online media. This is not to make the statement. I'm just trying to get some inferences. If you see, a lot of it is travel, BFSI, telecom, auto, online publishers, consumer durables, what I call CDIT, consumer durables, IT and telecom. That part. Telecom, the handset part of the telecom. FMCG, fairly small, and rest. So, for me, the little bit of inference out of this is, as a marketing team or a brand team, we have to be clear on each of the media, what it can really do. Of course, each media can do the same thing depending on what you want to push in. But typically, where is the lowest hanging fruit? So, I kind of got some words around it. And we had the lady from Taj, she'll obviously know more. For travel, it is about destination branding. You actually brand a destination. You brand a resort. You tell a story. So that's a very important part. That can be a role of online or digital. Search, comparison, experience, buying. Buying, unfortunately, even for travel, may be low in the country right now. Internationally, fairly high. BFSI.
So broadly, this falls in the category of search online, purchase offline. Broadly.
Well, it is changing. Yeah, for auto, clearly. Auto, for example, clearly. Yeah. If you look at it. Telecom, again, the way it is, telecom has become an FMCG product. When I say telecom, I say mobility. Yeah. It is changing.
So, Peshwa, can you wrap up so that we can get Vivek and then we do a final discussion?
I don't think... This, I think, I have already kind of shared a little bit with you. So, there is nothing more to... This I have already shared a little bit. This is a present scenario that among the people who are browsing on mobile, what they are doing. Downloading music, downloading apps, and downloading videos. The 3 key things which they are doing. And these are obviously various sites, not very important, but across platforms, across devices. So what they are looking at, and I don't think this is so important. So these are some of the challenges which are usually faced. This is my last slide or last 2 slides, usually the challenges faced by the brand team, understanding the role of digital media and what really it can deliver. Very important, because there are a lot of people in businesses who are plus 15 years, plus 20 years, plus 25 years. And the digital medium has been in this country for the last 10 odd years, 12 odd years. That's where it has taken off. Okay. Often around numbers, monitoring of competitors' activities. These are usually some of the questions which are asked by the board. Measurement and evaluation. Very important from a creative point of view. I think digital media makes us, we constantly have to be 24/7 on creative. I remember the days 25 years ago when we used to have 2 great campaigns for a brand in a year on television, and from there everything will happen. That is a brand's strategy. There is a huge discussion on account planning. I have gone through myself, very structured companies. I think those days are gone. So nowadays, like someone said, brand management and creative is 24/7. And the same creative cannot come to me every time I log into, let's say, a Facebook every night. I need to see separate, refresh. Same thing with a LinkedIn or whatever. So I think these are some of the challenges from a marketing brand team's point of view, and I'll be later on happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Peshwa, for bringing the basics into focus. Just want to ask you, what do you think is the size of the mobile marketing pie? I mean, I know probably our friends Dhiman and Kunal and Kapil and Karthik would know, but what do you size of mobile marketing? So people tagging messages that are going to audiences, to subscribers of telcos. Do you want to put a number? So if the total advertising is close to, depending on which number you believe our number of 1200 crores to 1500 crores. 300 crores is not a big money in India. It isn't. Look at the amount of scams happening. 300 crores seems like I could give it to you today evening if you're nice to me. Right? So you want to guess the size of the mobile marketing pie? So if it is 1200 crores, how much do you think of it is mobile? It's less than 200 crores. So most people believe it's between 180 to 200 crores. Yeah, between 180 to, we are now doing a study with Mindshare to estimate that, and it's between 180. Again, most of it is on mobile search. Most of it goes to mobile search at 70%. So that's growing. The one thing that stuck to my mind, and which you didn't answer and we'll come to, is how are marketers using apps to, kind of co-create messages, use it as a vehicle. So we'll come back to that. As they say, you save the best for last. So we have Vivek Bhagar. Please get him on with a big round of applause. And though I said it jokingly, but Vivek is a very successful entrepreneur, very knowledgeable, and I genuinely go to him. And one of the things that Vivek told me 3 years back, and he said to me that there's an opportunity in creating low-cost video content. And he said to me 3 years back that the web will be a video place. Create low-cost content, build studios. Today everybody can see that. So I really, and today you can see what's happening. So apart from whatever you say to them, tell them if there are entrepreneurial opportunities for them which do not require too much money, which require ideas. Yeah.
Sure. So I've been in the industry 15 years. I started this company way back in 1997. So it's been a long, long time. It's been a roller coaster ride. We've gone from phases of being called a genius to being called a moron, genius again, moron again. Right now the genius phase is going on. But we don't know, the moron phase could be just around the corner. But at least now we have money in the bank. So it's okay if you keep calling me moron again. I think the whole thing is that the way digital is evolving, it is just a medium that can help in customer acquisition, can help in brand building, it can help in information dissemination, it can help in understanding consumer trends, it can help in community building. So, what we were discussing about this whole concept of brand building, what exactly is brand building itself is something which, we saw it today, the presentation we saw, is very difficult to define what a brand is. So many times the brand communication message, like we work with multiple CMOs, and the common thing is, this is our brand message. This is what should be the message. Now, let's say if you are selling a car, let's say a Ferrari, and what if your brand message is speed, whatever XYZ, and what if the person who's searching on Google is searching for Ferrari safety? Now that could be actually a spouse of the person who's planning to buy a Ferrari. So if you say that because she's looking for the word safety out there, right? And what if you say 0 to 100 in 2.8 seconds? She's never going to allow the husband to buy the car. Trust me on it, right? So
He'll get you to insurance policy bundle with the car and let you drive the car.
Yeah, probably. Don't give her ideas, right?
I'm going to, your wife knows that you have a lot of money in the bank. I'm going to tell this to her.
Yeah. So think about this, right? The intent is so important. So out there, maybe safety videos that it's not only the fastest car on the road, but probably the safest, is something which should be more impactful, and that is still brand engagement, right? So I'll tell you how digital started. I'll take some guesses. When digital started, especially if you take search advertising, what happened was there were certain flaws in conventional media. We said, okay, let's remove the flaws. What were the flaws? Everything was sold on rate cards. So we said, okay, let's make it auction-based. It was very limited measurement available. So let's make it measurable. Then they said, okay, we can't target intent of the user. Let's target the intent of the user. When that 3 flaws were removed, still I think there were 2 key benefits of conventional advertising, which digital had not actually resolved. One was digital could not deliver frequency effectively. Because, the same ad would not be shown to the same user again and again. It was very difficult. Because you don't search for the same keyword again and again. You change your search strings. Secondly, the reach obviously was limited. And the duration of ad exposure was very limited. Text ad, banner ads were irritating. So there was no equivalent of a full page ad till about recent times. Now what has happened in the last 2 to 3 years? Why brand building on digital is possible now, which wasn't the case even 5 years back? First change that has happened is the reach has come in. There are almost 120, 140 million internet users in the country. And let me just tell you the reach in terms of context. The total number of newspapers circulation in India, all English language newspapers, is around 30 million, 32 million. The total number of PAN card holders, people who pay taxes, active PAN cards is only 35 odd million. People who have more than 1 million rupees per year income is 1 million. So when you take 120 million users, almost anybody who has a disposable income in the country is covered with that 120 million. Secondly, social media created reach, created frequency. Because, Facebook, YouTube to a certain extent, you're going to the same place again and again. So it's very, very useful because frequency is now possible. And YouTube, to a great extent, has brought in that ability of a full page ad, TV commercial, engagement, multimedia-based ad unit. So all the 3 things which digital did not have, which conventional media has, in these 3-4 years, because of free marketing, because of social media, because YouTube, has been resolved. So today, I think digital can deliver and build brands very, very effectively. But the key thing that we have to remember is that whatever we have done in conventional media, if we replicate the same strategy on digital to build brands, then we're definitely going to fail. Digital requires a different approach, right? So I'll just be brief. I'll just give you 4 other key points you must remember when you try to build brands on digital. First thing is that if you take conventional media, it's always about reaching a certain demographic. But, if you take conventional media, it's about minimizing waste. Digital has always been about maximizing efficiencies. So what you do is you target psychographics of people of certain niche. So why were demographics created? SEC A and B? Because you had to group a lot of people together. You had to group 50, 100 million people together. That's the only way you could program content for them on television and news, etc. Digital doesn't require that grouping of people. So you can reach out to very, very niche audiences. So you can reach out to people who are interested in a Volvo, but the fuel efficiency for a Volvo or safety of a Ferrari. These are very niche audiences, right? You can reach out to niche audiences. So that's why you need to not target demographics. Second thing is, when you spend 100 rupees on conventional media, you spend only 3-4 rupees on media buying and creative. Now I was talking to the Unilever guys, and the thing is that the media spend on conventional media is 96% of the budget. In digital, it's actually you have to plan it to be 40 to 50% of the budget. The media spends can be only 50% of your budget because it takes analytics, it takes creative content, it takes customized content, analytics, conversion optimization, website building, etc., agency fees. And the main thing is, people like Google innovated, and what they did was, let's say, suppose 100 rupees gives you 100 clicks. But if 50 rupees, you have supporting content with that 50 rupees, that 50 rupees could still give you 100 clicks because Google charges you lesser because if you have relevant content on the landing page. So your cost of content production actually can get amortized by just a reduction on the fees that Google will charge you or any search engines will charge you. Thirdly, I think key is that your communication of brand properties should not be done in the ad unit. Be done on destination. So if you have the relevant content, your brand should be built while content is being consumed. So if I've created a video, then while the video is being consumed, that's the time when you build your brand, not that, okay, my brand message is this, and the text ad should give that brand message. So let me give you an example to elaborate it. One of our clients is a mutual fund company. What we did was we found that the number of people searching for the keyword mutual fund was, what is mutual fund was actually 4 times more than number of people searching for the mutual fund itself. So what we did was we created a series of 20 videos on mutual funds, on SIP, tax saving schemes, a range of 20 videos. Then what we did was these videos were created based on the number of searches happening for that particular keywords. Then we created the entire set of videos, put them on YouTube, shared them on social media. Then we optimized it from a search engine point of view and got them ranking. So right now if you search for the keyword mutual fund on YouTube, we are ranking number 1 globally. We already got 75,000 views for that one video itself, and tax saving schemes and some of the other videos put together, we got 2.5 lakh video views. Each click for a keyword mutual fund costs almost 80 rupees on search at this point in time. So that's almost 3-4 crores of free traffic the client has already got. Then what we did was we dubbed the same videos in Hindi and Gujarati, because the Gujarati community invests a lot in the stock market, and that's also been picking up views. Now if you search for tax saving schemes on YouTube, the first 3 videos globally is the videos that we produce for DSP BlackRock. So the key is that if you get your content strategy right, find out what people are searching for, produce that content, optimize it, and then use your media money to promote it. You can actually build brands very, very effectively using digital. Just don't replicate what you've been doing in conventional media and you'll be fine. Thank you.
Vivek, one of the things that Vivek I want to ask you is, can you give them a perspective about some numbers that when you buy certain kind of keywords, just to give them some example, what kind of monies go behind it? For example, a certain keyword, as you and me know, would cost more because, so can you give them some benchmarks of?
Okay, so let me just try to give an example. The way Google search engines work is an auction engine, right? So let's say whatever is in demand, you pay a higher price for it. Whatever has less demand, you pay a lower price for it. So that would have been very simple, right? So the person who would bid the highest, his ad will come first. The person who bids second, his ad would come second. Now what search engines did was, that was not a fair way of distributing media, because then the top bidders or the people who were with a lot of money, they would dominate that form of advertising. So what Google did was, they said, okay, there'll be 2 components. One is the cost that you promise to pay, and the other is the quality score that you have. The quality score is a combination of a lot of factors, but one being that how relevant is the ad to the user. So if you search for a certain keyword, how relevant your ad is to that user. Secondly, if the user comes to your website, does he go back to the website, Google immediately? Does he spend time on your website? Does he engage with your website? So combination of all these factors give you a quality score. So let's say I am a brand, let's say I'm ICICI Lombard. I'm bidding for a keyword called ICICI Lombard. So most of the people searching for me will click on my ad, that means it's very relevant. But what if Reliance General Insurance is bidding on that same keyword? Now what will happen is, because very few people will click on that ad and most of them will click on me, I will get that same keyword for 2 rupees, and Reliance General Insurance could pay 100 rupees for the same keyword, because the quality score will make the difference. So in order for him to remain there, he'll have to keep on paying higher and higher, because the quality score will get lower and lower.
Google makes more and more money.
And now some keywords cost 300 rupees. There are keywords that cost $150. There is a keyword called mesothelioma, which is for wrongful death. So lawyers make a few $1 million when they file cases for that. So that each click costs $150. But we work on a lot of keywords that cost 300 rupees. But we also get keywords for 2 rupees. It depends on just a pure demand and auction, demand and supply.
Fantastic. So that example illustrates when you're building your strategy for search, there is something that you can use. And again, different domains have different keywords that are more in demand. And Roy, when you talk to clients, when you talk to, let's say, CMOs, brand managers, do you see them genuinely excited about digital, or is it just lip service?
It's actually kind of scary when you go and you tell them that this is what you want to do, and it actually throws them off the boat.
You talk about scary things, and you talk about doing one scary thing. I just figured out he's unmarried, so he doesn't know one scary thing, which is talking to your wife every day. So
No, but in my luck, at least, I've had some great clients that have been very digitally inclined. For example, when I used to work on Audi, and when they did the first website in India for the A8L, the budget that they allocated towards doing that website is far much more than someone would allocate towards doing a TVC. And it was basically the website that then paneled on across to television.
Destination for promotion.
Yeah. Even the production value of it was quite high. So it's great working with them and everything like that. Another
the
brand.
question I'm asking is, do they go for bold ideas?
Yeah, in my luck.
Does digital lead or digital follow, let's say, an idea from television? Do they do bold ideas? Does digital lead? Has any campaign that you've done came first from digital and then got blown up in other media?
Yeah, actually there have been 3 campaigns that we've done that have kind of come out from digital and then gone into TVC. The first one, as I said, was the Audi A8L campaign, which we did, which was first about, we created an entire website in 3 dimensions where people actually wear 3D glasses and browse the website. After that, something which we did for Hippo, which was towards the end of the year, called the Mom Line. And there's a famous line called Ma Meri Ma, which is the tune behind the website. So it all started off with a guy having an idea saying, if you hold a packet towards a webcam and I throw up a dialer and you dial your mother's number and Hippo will actually make that call go through, then there's a great brand proposition or a great brand value. Taking that back, a TVC evolved from that. We've also done a lot of TVCs for Appy Fizz and etc. like that, which stemmed from a web idea and then into just keeping the proposition in mind, obviously, about a cool drink to hang out with, wherein we create a website where people actually come to this website, they don't know what to do, and they just say, okay, I want to hang out with my friends, say, at Park Street in Kolkata. And it'll throw you about all the locations that you can hang around at Park Street. You can click on any one of those locations, it'll syndicate with Facebook, it'll give you an entire friends list. You click on those friends, it'll actually create an event at a particular date, at a particular time, with all those friends at Park Street. So it's a simple proposition that kind of evolves everywhere.
You're saying clients are experimenting, they're bold, digital is leading. Linus, you come from a domain which is B2B, and the challenges, as I said, of B2B are very different. Do you compete with an IndiaMart.com or with global platforms in the B2B space, which also have an India footprint? And how do you now, you told me your numbers, and suddenly I see Hello around you and say around you, the profitability you have. How do you go to the bottom of the pyramid, at least on one side of your business? Because if your next, I don't know your business that well, but I'm assuming that small and medium enterprises at some stage will give you the next stage of growth. So how, one, do you compete with an IndiaMart and other international platforms? And second is, how do you broaden the customer base?
We don't really compete with IndiaMart or other similar platforms, because what IndiaMart and all are trying to do is trying to connect people more through a bulletin board service rather than
creating shop fronts.
Right, that's right. Yeah. So theirs is more of a promotional business. We are actually where the deal gets consumed. It's a transactional business. But the point that you make, as in connecting to SMEs, that's really what we set out to do. The entire objective was to disintermediate. To just talk about the coal example, since coal is a hot topic. In 2005, when we were asked to disintermediate the coal sector, we asked the coal secretary, so what is it that you would like to do? What is your objective? He said, I would like coal to be available to every citizen of India if he wants to buy. Okay, so you need to create a process for that. The second, so we asked the chairman of, the chairman of Bharat Coking Coal. He says, I would like to realize the true value of coal for my company so that I can make profit. Okay? And we asked the chairman of Coal India, what is it that you want? And he said, I would like to sleep well at night. No problems, no headaches. The thing
You
is
just resign and go home.
So...
Can't be in a government job and sleep well at night.
No, the thing is, I don't think that the Prime Minister of India sleeps well at night nowadays. Okay, but the thing is...
He's sleeping mostly in the day these days. No, kidding. I mean, I'm very fond of the current government. And my profile says I'm pro-Congress, but I'm just kidding.
So, we even went down to consumers and we asked them, what is it that they want? And ultimately, we had to try and design a solution which benefited all, which met everyone's objectives.
So and how will you bring more SMEs? How will you bring small and...
We have, actually, in our business, we need to have foot soldiers. So we have to
You're
have...
saying physical enablement of deal making is important.
No, physical...
Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the customer discovery, new customer discovery has to
be physical.
Physical.
Okay. Peshwa, you've been in retailing, you've been in telecom, and you've been in durables business before that, right? Now, this is something that I would have said on the next panel, but it is relevant to what you've done. I see in the US, and I see it happening in India, the truly Silicon Valley, Hollywood, and Madison Avenue, which is Silicon Valley meaning technology, Hollywood meaning film and film content, and Madison Avenue meaning advertising, is really coming together, and it is impacting every domain that you work with, and of course the communication domain. How do you see that happening in India over the next 3 to 5 years? Because, you still believe that we have a physical touch to things. That's why you have stores. But do you see that changing in the next 3-5 years where physical presence will not be that important?
Yeah, I think possibly I didn't explain my stance properly. I think in India there will always be the two India. One India which will be completely digital, and one India which will have a mix of both. Let me give you a classic example. All of us has been buying air tickets for the last 25, 30, 40 years that we have been traveling. Till the time few years ago, now 100% of air tickets bought in this country are all online. 100%. Even if you actually, I tell my secretary buy an air ticket, she tells Cox and Kings or whoever, they actually buy online and give it to us. So India on the air ticket segment is actually 100% online. Very few countries in the world possibly are 100% online. It may have happened because of statutory reasons. That's a separate thing, how it has happened. So it's not to say that online will not be there. One of the big advantages we have in India is, unlike in the western parts of the world, digital here is not through the desktop or not through the box, not through the MS Office operating system, if I may call it. It is through mobility OS. It is through the mobile. And mobile is also transforming itself from a cell phone to that of actually a mobile device. MIDs. What we read about MIDs 5 years ago. So now smartphones are actually becoming MIDs. So I think India will have multiple models which the West possibly hasn't seen. That's the point I was trying to say. So I would love to see that whatever happens in the California or Silicon Valley happens in India. But my understanding of India in the last 22 years, and I having been in FMCG, durables, retail, have practically traveled and sold across every district of the country. Possibly except Ladakh and some other places which I have not traveled because of our, on work. I have gone on other holidays, I have gone, but on work I have not. So I have seen that India is slightly different. There will be multiple models operating where there will be a mix of very strong online and a mix on online, offline. There will be a mix where, as you said, there will be search done online, buying offline. There will be search done online, servicing offline. There might be search, buying online, servicing offline. So number of models will happen. I don't know whether you have heard of the company called iYogi. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So iYogi is again giving service through an online platform for things which in India is given offline. So future I think is fairly open, and someone I think Vivek said that maybe we should do things differently from what we were doing 20 years ago. So that mindset we should have, that not necessarily to me the values and principles may remain the same, but the way and techniques will change. So I don't know whether I have answered.
Next question. Rana, you asked a question earlier, so we'll give more chance. We don't have other people. We paid Rana to ask a lot of questions today. The Bengal Chamber of Commerce. Kidding. Any question? Yes. Please tell who you are, what you do. You work for Mamata Banerjee or Congress or CPI? Or Maoist? Both? That's a tough one.
Yeah, hi. Hello. Okay, I'm audible. My name is Jeet Sanyal. I'm a small independent digital agency from Calcutta. So my question is that...
What's your name?
My name is Jeet.
Jeet.
That's right, Sanyal.
And what's your agency called? 200 people will know about your agency. There are 2 clients in the room. What's it called? I'll take some fee for prompting you to do that, but...
My agency is called D-Live. That stands for Digital Live, right? And I come from a technical background. I've been doing a lot of web hosting and app development stuff. So now I'm diversifying into more mobile stuff. So my question is that in my years of handling web, many a times I have faced hack attacks. I've hired data centers in UK and US, and I've been hosting websites there. So at any time, if my luck is bad, I've seen 6, 7, 10, 15 websites going down just like that. And then I've
What's your
seen...
question? Twitter-like question. What's your question?
My question is that these digital stuff that we've been seeing today, is there any way to protect them from unethical users? Or because any time a brand might hire this type of platforms to do the things, but if it is hacked, and it is going to not only damage the brand, it will ruin the agency, it will create havoc. So is there any way to secure these platforms that we've been talking about? That's my question.
Okay, so I've been doing this for large enterprises for the last 15 years, and actually I haven't seen 6-7 attacks up till now also. You get 6-7 attacks a day, I really have to ask you, what do you do?
No, it's not that I get 6-7 attacks a day. I have seen my websites being brought down. Okay, my partner is seated right beside me. We have been.
Okay, so
that's different. I have links with Daud Bhai. That is different.
My philosophy is that whenever you think of technology, right, there's nothing as safe. There is nothing as protection. So let's say if you want to send a letter to somebody, if you think it's not something which is let's say you don't have to safeguard, let's say you don't have to protect it, you can send it as a postcard. You can then use inland, then you can use courier, then you can actually have somebody go and take a letter personally, or then you can go with a briefcase, locked it to your wrist with a steel box and 20 bodyguards with you, an armored car and a private charter plane, right? So depending on what you do, how much security you need, you should have adequate security. So if you're a bank and somebody can actually transfer money from it, then you will go in for the armored car security online. And there are enough companies who provide for it, and you'll have to pay extra for it. So if you provide a service that costs 100 rupees, and you're protecting that service will cost you 1,000 rupees, it's not viable for you, right? Then the business model is not viable. But if it's a service that requires 100 rupees, basic protection and a good hosting company should be adequate protection for it, right? Because you're sending a letter to your mother. If somebody reads it, it's not going to harm you or her in any way. It's okay if somebody steals the letter. Mother chalta hai na, tabhi to mother bola. Mistress thodi bola tha.
Any other questions so that we have a social media panel. We have Shredha from UB, we have Dhiman from LinkedIn, we have Kunal from Google, and we have Kapil Gupta from Home Logic. So we have a great panel. So one question here. Yes. Who made a good ad? Okay.
What we saw was a hashtag in Twitter that things longer than Airtel ads. Okay, so actually that meant a bad publicity for the company. So what is it that you control on the internet
Vivek
for
Roy.
a brand?
See, actually, you cannot actually control much on the internet. I'll give you two classic examples. They actually gone on as case studies in this. If you look at earlier, there was a campaign called Digain Varma, and there were hoardings and posters all over the city saying Digain Varma was here, Digain Varma was there. It took they did this for around 7, 10, 15 days, and they just kept on teasing the person about that. And then Times of India or a leading newspaper picked up a picture of a school photograph and said, this is Digain Varma. The campaign was for Fruity, and Times of India catapulted a lot of publicity from that. Coming back to a very recent campaign when Airtel broadband was getting launched, and there was this red chair falling everywhere and saying, coming home to you. So it was a campaign for Airtel, and suddenly Reliance just dropped a chair and said, we've come home to you with 3,500 channels and this and that. So Airtel spent a lot of money building up the red chair, and that's a risk you run. So it's about if you're creating a teaser or you're creating something like that, be careful as to how you put it out and what damaging connections that could have. Take care of those before you let any communication out. That's something that you need to look at.
Talking about that ad is good enough for Airtel. Okay?
So I'll just add one line as an answer. The problem is actually not that you can't control it. The problem is that you want to control it.
Do you want to control it? I think that's a very big one last question. Rana, quick question. Otherwise you will not feed me dinner that you're supposed to.
I'll just ask the panel to address the basic issue of crowdsourcing or crowd mobilization as far as digital platform is concerned. I'll give you one example. Onir's film was funded almost 90% with crowdsourcing production. We have Airtel's Har Dost Zaruri Hai. Would they probably look forward to a flash mob to promote the brand and Har Dost as a platform? So what is the way forward?
Actually, I have a good example of this. See, actually, the thing is that crowdsourcing as a concept is neither evil nor good. Right? It's a power. So there is a book by this guy called Chris Shirky. It's called Here Comes Everybody. So what it said was that when larger brands would communicate with consumers, they had this upper hand. They were sitting on stage and they were down there, right? So I can have the mic in my hand, I can say whatever I want. But now what has happened is that if everybody comes together, then my mic is not enough, right? Together you have much more power than what we have on the stage. So crowdsourcing in a way, or whatever you'd call it, crowd mobilization, is just a way of a lot of consumers coming together with a common cause, regardless whether the other side is a big corporate, whether it's a government, whether it's whoever, it doesn't matter. And organizations have to prepare for it. So they have to leverage the crowdsourcing to actually benefit their brand, or they can get hit by it. So basically, I think there's so many models today, whether it's funding, whether it's marketing, where people are using the power of social media to bring people together and leveraging it to actually benefit their companies, right? So I think these are all new evolution happening in the digital front. The key is that can we think of innovation and ideas, how they can leverage it to our benefits, individually or professionally.
Fantastic. We can go on, but rest questions offline. And Siddharth.
Thank you so much. May I request Mr. P. Roy, our Director General, to come on stage, please, and hand over mementos to us, to our panelists. Meanwhile, our heartfelt thanks to Mr. Vivek Bhargav, to Mr. Peshwa Acharya, to Mr. Linus Lobo, and to Mr. Roy Menezes for being here with us for such an enlightening session. Thank you so much.
Bill Weil.
we've all been through some very, very exciting sessions on the role of digital media, leveraging digital media, and we come to our final session today on the impact of social media. And we have with us someone who has over 11 years of experience in travel, management consulting, and digital media. He is currently working as a product solution specialist with Google and works with some of the largest advertisers in India, helping them advertise and implement innovative marketing solutions in areas of online video, mobile internet, and social media. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Kunal Soni, Industry Manager, Media and Platforms, Google India. He got initiated into the digital world in early 2006 when he joined a startup, www.sulekha.com, in Chennai as their marketing director. It was a risk at that time, but provided an earthworm view of the operational procedures of the digital media. Today, he heads UB Group's digital marketing efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome Mr. B. Sridhar, Head New Media, UB Group. Next, we have a globally sought-after thought leader, speaker, and consultant on social media and customer engagement. He is the founder and CEO of OmLogic Consulting, one of India's leading online and social media agencies. He has been an avid speaker on social media, entrepreneurship, and leadership, both in India and across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Kapil Gupta, founder and Chief Executive Officer, OmLogic Consulting. With 10 years' experience across advertising, sales, and digital marketing verticals, he honed his skills with search giant Google, where he worked in a leadership role. He has also held leadership roles at the Times of India and Rediff.com. His focus at LinkedIn is to build marketing solutions business by engaging with customers to provide them with solutions, enabling them to a targeted group of professionals across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Dhiman Mukherjee, Director Marketing Solutions, LinkedIn India. And with this, may I hand you over to Anurag for our third panel discussion.
Yeah. You guys still want me to moderate a session? Tell me. If you want, then I will do it. If you don't want, I will. That's very weak, yeah. I might have a new set of jokes, especially on Kingfisher Airlines. So, no, I'm kidding. My normal joke is that that was the costliest way to promote a beer brand. The biggest budget of advertising on earth, Kingfisher. No, but that's a joke. He can't even laugh on it. What a pity. But since they paid me for the whole day, I am here. I must tell you that I am a student of digital, but more than that, I'm a student of social media. I might meet people like Vivek, Kapil, because I'm trying to learn from them. I don't know enough. And I'm not bullshitting. I genuinely don't know enough. I'd like to know more. So I think this session is a very important session. Also, the spends are going more and more in social media. So from that standpoint, it is very important. From reputation standpoint, it's very important. And also, as I said, with what's happening in the country and what's happening with social media, it's an issue for the country. It's not just for marketers or media owners or communicators. It's an issue for all of us. And I remember, as I told you, I was on these panel discussions on national news about social media being banned. And I came out and I called a friend of mine who's the number 2 in the IB in Delhi. And as I was thinking about digital emergency and digital riot, that kind of words were going. And I realized there's a whole opportunity to educate the government on this. Because like Vivek said, everything has a is a double-edged sword. It is what do you wish to do with? I mean, social media is a huge thing. You talk about governance. Social media can be used for governance issues. I have a junior from my engineering school who's a deputy commissioner of Bagpat. Bagpat is a district in UP which was famous for Ajit Singh's constituency. And he uses SMS and social media to get his constituents to do healthcare. So he informs that this week, very basic, but the fact is he uses that. So really social media has implications beyond communication, and that's why it's more important than ever. So we have a great panel, and the 3-4 things I'd like this panel to address is, one is we've already talked out of 1,200 crores, about, in my view, less than 20% is being spent on social media. So how much will it be going forward? Can you put a number to that? Second is, as more and more people use mobile to access social media, does it create another set of opportunities for the ecosystem? And third, what are the do's and don'ts on social media, apart from whatever? And again, as I said, the Brahmin in our business. You know who's the Brahmin in our business? Who's the Brahmin? And who's the marketer on the panel? He also promised to get us free drinks post the session. So for that reason, we get Sridhar to be the first speaker. Sridhar manages a brand portfolio at UB. And again, his category is such that he has to resort to surrogate advertising. And so digital becomes a very important part of creating excitement. Also, his category is about youth. Youth are on social media platforms user. So Sridhar, all yours.
Which file do I open? Thank you, Anurag. You told me I have 10 minutes, so I'll try to wrap that up in precisely 9.56 seconds. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was 2 stories floating around before when Facebook was coming out in their IPO. There was GM which said that they support Facebook and social media. And Ford at the same time said that whatever money they have spent in social media was a wastage. So there are 2 different points of view which is emerging in the social media landscape. And I am no authority today to say who is right or who is wrong. But these 2 mindsets are developing. And what I'm going to share with you in the next 9 minutes is some examples which I have picked up as I traveled across the globe on my experience of handling Royal Challengers Bangalore and Shara Force India. Some lessons which I have learned, which I'm going to share with you. Also, I'm not going to focus on the personal use of social media. I'm sure that 99% of us are all in Facebook. We all communicate. So that's not the point, that's not the agenda for today's discussion. I'm going to talk morely on the business aspects of social media. There are 4 key reasons why we need to look at it. Somebody said 120 million. We look at it at 80 million active users on the internet base. And if you look at it as a whole, then it is bigger than the UK and Australia combined together. There are about 56 million people. So that, as a target segment, is big for us. The second, 75% of all these users are below the age of 35 years. That's important. So if you combine 80 million and you say that there are 75% who is below the 35 years of age, and if that's an audience which your brand is looking for, then it is a potential audience which can do business with you, who can transact with you, who can influence the purchase decision. As we say, increase the mental availability of the brand. As marketeers, we look at the physical distribution and we call it the physical availability. What social media does is helps us to increase the mental availability of the brand through repeated engagement and interactions with the users. The third, when we do our TV campaigns, we find that it is the most cheapest. The cost of reaching a guy through TV is about 35 paise, while on the other hand, through digital media, through online space, we reach it by about 11 to 12 paise. Finally, this is a key trend, if you see and you observe our behaviors also, that the prime time, which is typically the TV domain of 9 p.m. onwards, that's the time when personal use of mobiles and handsets and iPads are growing. So to us, it signifies that the prime time media
slots are changing. People are not only engaging with television programs at that point of time, but also at the same time into their mobile devices. Some say that TV is going to go away. We don't believe that TV is going to go away. It's going to remain, but TV is going to play a role in our lives. Therefore, TV is going to be primarily for live content. If a cricket match is on or an EPL is on, you would prefer to watch it on TV. TV is not going to go away. But what is going to happen is, while people are watching TV, they're going to interact with the digital space or the social media space. So how many times we have seen people updating the current cricket scores or current state of the match on the web, right? So that's how the entire interplay is going to happen. And when we look at a plan, we don't say that we are looking for a TV plan, but we look at an audience reach plan, which is a combination of TV plus a digital audience. So it's no more about how many GRPs you have got or how many AOTs you have got, but how many audiences you have reached, which has a component of TV plus an online media. Having said that, one must determine what are the key objectives. It can be cost-focused, which is at the bottom of your screen, or it could be brand equity-focused. I will assume that all of us as brand managers are looking at brand equity, so I've not given any example. But for us, in USL, as Anurag was saying, we can't advertise our product directly. For us, it is definitely as an integral part of a media mix and to get consumer insights, because we can't sell alcohol online. Otherwise, digital media and social media offers a great avenue for a low-cost transactional way to increase leads. I'm going to share with you 2 examples of the way we use social media, since the platform is on social media, and how brands should get this insight right for themselves. Every day, every morning when we come up, we see multiple of status messages going up on our friends, on our walls. Is of our status updates, our friends' status updates, our friends' status updates. It keeps on changing. But which is the one thing which we click the first? In your Facebook page, which is the one thing which we click the first? It's the notification button. The little red button on the top. We click that genuinely first. Why do we do that? We do that because we want to know what our friends have said on our comments. When I posted a picture or made a status update last night, how many people have interacted with that? So social media is not about self-expression. That's a myth. Social media is all about getting responses of your point of view. We are only interested in that. So that's an insight which we need to get into. As brands, it's not about just going there and talking and putting your point of view, but to engage with your users, interact with the users, talk to the users. The second example which we need to pick up from the social media of our private lives is this guy's statement, Andy Warhol. He said, everybody is going to be famous for 15 minutes. Now, if you flip that around, in social media, you'll see in your personal experiences, when you make a comment or put a picture, there'll be oddly about 10 to 15 guys in your friend circle who always like whatever you do. To them, you are his hero or her hero. So you generally see that pattern emerging, that there will be a bunch of close friends of yours who will like whatever status updates you put or whatever communication you put there. What it helps from a brand's perspective is, as you build your fan base, as you build your community, they are guys who are heroes to another set of 15 friends. And they help you spread the word of mouth, which is the most powerful influencer to push sales. So what I'm saying is talk to your users rather than communicate with your users. The problem is, most brand managers say, let's release our TVC online. That's how you become digital. That's a myth. Some better brand manager who's digitally conscious says, let's release our making of the TVC online. And that becomes the digital component. That's absolutely the wrong way to do it, because the theme is to talk to your users. Advertising is not talking. Talking is advertising. When friends of your brand or community members of your brand talk about your brand, they're actually advertising for your brand, promoting your brand. And social media is not about Facebook. Don't rely on Facebook. When you build brands on Facebook, remember, your audience base is not yours. It is Facebook's members. You have no clue who those guys are. build across in multiple platforms. Let us choose which is a platform which is the most benefit. You can be on a LinkedIn, or you can be on a YouTube, you can be on a Twitter, but go beyond Facebook. Let us not restrict ourselves only to Facebook. So the message clearly is not to do social, but to be social in the way we approach the subject matter. Talk, because talking with people helps connections between two people. When you have connections, it builds conversations, and that's how your brand starts getting spread. So what should I? The most difficult question when we set up our social media strategies is, what should we talk? And as a thumb rule, we put out a little grid, which I would like to share with you. Decide whether your brand is a cult brand or it's a product brand. If you have an interest content-based strategy, which is based on the interest which the brand is owning, or is it a product content-based strategy? Let's look at it like this. This is the grid. If you're a cult brand, let's say a Zippo or a Harley, and consumers make it cult, marketeers don't make a brand cult, then you can talk about product. Your social media strategy could be a product-led strategy. You talk about your products, consumers will share it, consumers will like it. But if you're not a cult brand, then the task becomes even more difficult. You need to create content, focus on content which is going to create consumer interest and drive engagement and usage. Two simple questions which we need to answer of a differentiated content strategy. Why would they care? Why would they share? Examples which I would like to give. In social media, you would have seen consumers or users like us posting baby photographs. A newborn baby, and people upload their photographs immediately on social media. Now, that's a consumer behavior which is already happening on the social media world, and Johnson & Johnson or any other baby care product can take advantage of this. We go to a restaurant, we take a picture of the food which you're going to have and post it through Instagram, right? Possibility of integration of restaurants or city-based offers to be put in there. So the idea is to see what people are doing on the social media and then develop your strategy around it rather than pushing strategy on them. And these are multiple behaviors which you will see happening on the social media which people do. So why would they care and why would they share? If you're able to answer these two critical questions, your social media strategy will be primarily effective. Now, this is where I'm going to spend a little more time, and we believe that they're going to be having severe consequences on the roles we play as marketeers. Content excellence is going to hold forth than creative excellence. Gone are the days when we sit down and every quarter we are going to do creative campaigns. It's a 24/7 job, and the role of the brand manager is to focus on content and become content producers and not campaign managers. And the ripple effect will be on all our associate partners, the advertising agencies, the media agency, the media buyers. Everybody has to be thinking through the same line of thought. Advertising agencies are no more in our role, or should be to create TV campaigns. They are content producers for us. The media agency, when they do tie-ups, they are not looking at buying only prime time slots, but they are looking at prime time slots plus content which the brand can own and can use in its social media channels. When you're building your brand pages in Facebook, you're helping Facebook as a platform and not as your brand. You have no idea what the consumer is all about. I'm going to share two stories if time permits, or otherwise I'll leave it to one. It's a story of Buddy Media. I'm not sure how many of you know about Buddy Media, but there's the CEO of this guy, CEO of this company, Mike Lazzaro. I know him for the last 3 years, and I thought that his story was pretty influential and influenced me a lot. And it kind of summarizes what I've been trying to share with you for the last 7-8 odd minutes. And he told me one thing, that stories about people beat stories about company. This is Mike. Now, Mike owned this company called Buddy Media till about 4 weeks back. And 4 weeks back, he sold it to Salesforce.com for $686 million. That's the kind of value which he's got for his little startup. And I had a chat with Mike, and his selling story was pretty influential, and I would like to share with you. So when this the acquisition was done of Salesforce of Buddy Media, most announcements of these tie-ups were similar and pattern, and they would do a PR department would get into it, do a PR releases, and it would, you just need to fill the blanks. Dash dash acquires dash dash for dollars dash dash to create the first and only and the largest. We are the world's leading provider dash dash in the dash dash industry. This is a typical format which every other tie-up or alliance would do. Buddy Media and Mike did this differently, and that's the story which I would like to share with you. Mike decided to talk to all his users, to all the people, of how he built this company called Buddy Media and what's going to happen in the next few days. It's an interesting video which Mike created. Something's wrong with the file. So that's the story of Mike. It gets pretty interesting as the video progresses. You can check it out in the YouTube about his story and how he kind of launched his company. That's how he made his company's takeover, and it went viral on the YouTube. It got about 120,000 views on Facebook. It was trending in Twitter in US at that point of time. If you see on the 6th on the list, Buddy Media, where Mike's video was being talked about, there are responses which he got from people across the world who talked about Mike and how he had influence, because he was born with the congenital heart defect, and the chances of he survived death and he cheated death, and he created this company. And that created a lot of ripples across the users across the world. And media picked it up, the CNN picked it up, Bloomberg picked it up. Another great story, NYC Tech success story. Congrats, Buddy Media, on successful acquisition. Not only that, what it did the job of what media is supposed to do or an acquisition talk is supposed to do, but it had responses from people across the world. A woman writes, "Hello Mike, your story made me both smile and cry. My son was also born with a congenital heart defect. Surgery at 18 months and was vibrant, active, and a world traveler. You kids with CHD just know something and have an insight that the rest of us don't. When my son was 20, he went into heart failure and 4 weeks later had to say goodbye to him. I know he would have the same inspiration and determination that you have to live his dreams. Good for you, dream for tomorrow, live for today." So these are the kind of responses which Mike got on his entire story. So what did he do? He talked. He didn't advertise. He didn't do PR releases. What did he do? He focused on content. He didn't just do a PR write-up. He was not advertising, or he was not telling his product story. He was creating his own emotional story. Third, social media is not Facebook. He went into YouTube, Twitter, every platform, LinkedIn, and created this story. The second example, which I'm going to share with you, is one of our brands in UB, which is the White Mischief Brodka, which does pretty well in West Bengal. Now, the brand had one single promise, and the proposition stood for flirtatiously mischief, which is for the young target audience who are interested in looking at girls and making friends with girls. Brand manager of White Mischief had a very tiny budget. The budget kept on shrinking day on. But he had bigger ideas, and he created an idea which we all now went into. As all the brands, we have an IPL team, and as all big brands sponsored the cricketers, this guy came and said, forget the cricketers, let me go and sponsor those cheer girls on the field, because they stand for flirtatious mischief. And so we pay for the cheer girls only to get that association, but the entire strategy is to get content from them. So while 6 of them are dancing on the field, another 18 of them are sitting there on our UB floor, chatting with the users, creating content, doing photographs, putting up flirting tips, putting out flirty messages with our entire audience base. So this is how the entire social media strategy worked on, where our paid for the rights to brand the mischief leaders only a part of our thing. We are not interested to get the sponsorship, the logo put up on these girls' T-shirts. But what we are interested in is the girls staying back and talking to us and the fans and the users on social media. So all these girls get into, there is a natural flirt, each girl gives a natural what the prediction is, they give flirt trips, they put up crazy photographs, and all these get little shares, and the game goes on. So the final thing is the brand, as I started off by saying, was able to do mental availability of the brand in the consumer's mind in spite of a shrinking budget. We all face in a situation where our marketing dollars are shrinking day and day, and we are getting accountable for our spends. And social media gives us a very least effective cost and a great way to talk to our consumers as long as we are focused on content, content, and content. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sridhar. You were interesting content yourself, so we allowed you a little bit more. So I was just reading something I wrote. It is about the blogging policy at Microsoft. And the blogging policy at Microsoft is just 2 words: blog smart, or you could say blog interesting. And again, I have this belief that online media, social media mirrors real life. In real life also, you got to be interesting for people to be knowing you. Interesting doesn't mean that you have to have a ponytail, or you have to pierce your ears, or you have to look funny. Interesting means knowledgeable. Interesting means something that you can give to someone. It could be knowledge. You can help. You have to be somebody that people want to have a conversation with, right? People want to know. So, to me, that's what you were saying, and that's so true for social media. And content, as you heard in the morning, drives social media. And somebody asked me about Mavens and the depth and breadth of social media. He's himself saying that don't just use Facebook, use Instagram, use Twitter, and you saw that most of the brands are doing that. And by the way, UB Group believes in content. Look at, they come out with the Kingfisher swimsuit calendar. That's content. I mean, really, it comes from the chairman. It's a content philosophy that they follow. So really, they take it very seriously. And we'll go with Dhiman now. I did ask Dhiman what his name meant. And his name means the one that has all the knowledge. Dhiman, something like that. So I'm sure you'll share a lot of knowledge with us. Dhiman, all yours. And LinkedIn, I spend about 15-20 minutes on LinkedIn. It's a very important part of what I do. I get to see a link that interests me. Sometimes I click, sometimes I don't. And I believe that LinkedIn is going to go from strength to strength. Everybody, these days I have to recruit, they send me their LinkedIn profile. So really, to me, these are 2 things that are very utility based. So I'm sure Dhiman will take us to more finer nuances than just this. Dhiman has a flight, so you won't spend more time than his due.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dhiman Mukherjee, I handle marketing solutions business for LinkedIn India. Quick show of hands, how many people here are from the advertising agency world, and how many are from the marketing? So ad agencies first. So the remaining are all what I would imagine marketing fraternity. Okay. There's a mixed bag, looks like. Okay. So I'm going to talk about LinkedIn, essentially LinkedIn and best practices. We've spoken about this since morning. You know, there was a wave which was towards 1990s. We started with portals, and then came the age of search engines, and Google showed us how relevance is delivered through every click that you do on a search string. Then came the phase of social, which we all understand as it started with platforms such as Orkut, and then moved into Facebook, and now so there is a proper definition when it comes to social. So there are platforms meant for professionals, there are platforms meant for family and friends, and there's so much happening in this space. So we'll spend some time understanding that. What does this mean for the media buying fraternity? We've spoken about this in the morning, about bought media, owned media, and earned media. What is interesting here is that earned media today, you cannot take this lightly. It is very much there. It's something that is driving the next phase on digital. So talking about the 99-1 rule, there is 90% of the users are readers who are generally, or lurkers as you may want to call it. 9% of them are actually contributing to the conversation. And there is 1% of the people who are actually acting or doing some kind of a action. So that 1% is worth all your social media spends. Now, this leads to the decision maker's dilemma. A lot of you are media buyers and planners. The decision making is complex. How can I be fast, and at the same time, how can I be right? Now, this is a dilemma that is faced with most of the media buyers and planners, because if you don't get into it, your competitor will. So it's about grasping that opportunity ahead of anybody else doing it, and how do you do it fast and right and build scale is the challenge. Looking at the social media landscape, I wanted to spend some time on this slide because this is very important. We've spoken about content. In the morning session, Abhirup spoke about content being viral and not virality being delivered out of something else. No, he said the right thing. It is content which needs to be viral. But more importantly, content needs to be in context. And that's how content will be consumed in the right sense of the term. So there are enough and more social platforms now which are there for you to use. So there are platforms like LinkedIn, which is essentially for the professional base. For friends and family, you have networks like Facebook and Orkut and so on and so forth. On the personal side, the name that comes to my mind is Twitter, because it's one way of broadcasting yourself. So what you want to do as a marketer in terms of reaching out to the right set of audience and in the right context, and therefore delivering relevance out of the entire exercise is the most challenging part. So I've spoken about this. If you broadly look at the spectrum, it is social utility, public communications, and professional network. Now, as a marketer, you need to understand what is it that you want to get into, and what part of these social gestures do you want to monetize. A bit about LinkedIn. Our mission is to connect the world's professionals to make them productive and successful. Today we have in excess of 175 million users. A large chunk of this, almost like little under 10%, is from India. So in terms of Pure numbers, we are 16 million users in India right now, and we are a growing community. The most influential, educated, and affluent bases of audiences are on LinkedIn. So these are some numbers from our market research that we conducted in 2011 in December. So as you can see, if your intent is to reach out to an affluent Indian audience with multiple intent. So let's say it could be you could be a B2C marketer or a B2B marketer, but as long as you have the context and you're able to deliver it to the right audience, then that's what matters. I'm going to talk to you about a few case studies that we've been speaking on LinkedIn. The first and foremost, DSP BlackRock. I know our friend Vivek spoke about it in the last panel. Vivek's been a partner with us as far as this client is concerned. So DSP BlackRock today runs a community on LinkedIn with an intent to drive consideration on their products and services. So mutual funds is a complex category of products and services. And they believe that the entire 16 million users that we have on LinkedIn are the audience set that they can look at. Because they have funds which are meant for entry-level professionals, and then it goes on to C-suite audience. So on LinkedIn, they can actually target the right professionals for the right set of products, something that you can't do anywhere else. The context has to be delivered in a different manner. Today, they have about 60,000 users who are following them on LinkedIn. What DSP does now is that it has access to this captive audience. Now, talking about tactical media campaigns, which you keep doing every now and then, here's a captive audience. It's almost like you cast a net to fish every time, right? And why don't you own a pool of fish for yourself and keep having more fish? So it's a captive audience that DSP BlackRock has invested in. And today, they need not do media campaigns every now and then, because once this audience is locked in, it's your real estate, and you keep feeding data to them. You send them status updates in terms of what's new, what's coming up, so on and so forth. So very interesting way of engaging the audience. I'm going to talk to you about a solution that we built for American Express. American Express wanted to use LinkedIn as a platform in terms of driving a referral or a recommendation program for their credit cards. Now, on LinkedIn, all of us are connected, right, as professionals, as peers. When I recommend a product or a service to my peer, he is likely to take that more seriously than any piece of advertising, because remember, recommendations are the oldest form of advertising. So we capitalized on that, and what the solution was all about was that we delivered a platform where American Express was able to pull networks of individuals on a third-party page using LinkedIn APIs. So it was a very simple execution. You sign in with your credentials on a third-party page using your LinkedIn username and password, and what it does is it takes you to a third-party page like this one where your entire network gets pulled. Now imagine, I know for a fact what kind of people have what kind of lifestyle patterns, because I know some of them professionally, and I know that so-and-so he loves traveling, so-and-so is a frequent flyer. So I may want to recommend a credit card to him which is most likely for his requirement. Now that's the power of the platform, because you are now it's not American Express which is saying that you go and buy my card. It's a peer-to-peer communication, and American Express is just monetizing that. So this campaign actually it was an award-winning campaign in more senses than one, because it got them about 33,000 odd recommendations from across professionals. The other example that I'm going to talk to you about is Woodland. It's a classic. It's a retail brand, right? At the end of the day, But what Woodland is doing with this, again, it was an execution using LinkedIn APIs, where the goal of the marketer was to promote their Pro Planet range of shoes, not literally the shoe, but the theme which is attached to it, which is contribute to the greener economy. So we built a site like this one, where on day one we actually launched this site on the World Environment Day. And when on the day it started, you sign into this site using your LinkedIn credentials, and as and when you contribute to green ideas, the page sort of turns greener. So that was the interesting part of it, because by the end of the campaign, what started off looking like a black and white page turned green. So, and again, an interesting concept in terms of thought leadership by a brand which is not so digitally savvy. So what we did at the end of the day was Woodland was able to get good PR mileage out of this as well. The third example that I'm going to talk to you about is the B2B part of things, because that's again a very important part of our business. So we cater to a lot of B2B marketers as well. So this example is that of Dell. Dell today has a community which is called More Growth on LinkedIn. This is a custom group that they have launched about a year and a half back. And as you can see, I mean, there are 11,000 odd people who have joined this group, and they're from as many as 6,000 small and medium enterprises from 400 odd towns and cities of India. Now, what Dell is doing is it's not showing its products and services to them. Dell just wants to start listening to the conversations that are happening in the SMB space. They want to build that business. That's the way they want to build the business. They want to listen to them. They want to create those micro conversations, look at what are their requirements, what are the pain points, try and address those in the offline events that Dell does. So this has become a thriving community for Dell on LinkedIn. So that now, as you can see, I mean, I have given you 3 examples of cases where the brands are very, very different. There is American Express, a financial major, Woodland, which is a retail major, and Dell, which is a technology major. So this is all that I had to talk about. The message that I want to throw out is you have to be in the conversation before anyone else gets into it. So for more on LinkedIn, you can refer to this website. Thank you.
Thank you, Deeman. I hope the last CEO of Yahoo that got fired didn't put his LinkedIn CV. I'm kidding. Anyway, so we've heard from a marketer, we've heard from a media owner, a social media platform that's really up there. We'll hear from an agency, and as happens in our business, Google has the last laugh. So we'll hear from Kunal in the end. So Kapil, all yours.
Thank you, Anurag. So while we are getting the presentation set up, before I get into my presentation, I wanted to ask a personal question. I have a couple of lakh of rupees and I have a family of 4. Can you guys tell me where do I go for vacation? Kerala. Vegas. Okay. Southeast Asia. What's that? Okay. Let me ask a question first. Has anybody ever planned their vacation this way? I have X amount of money. Let me figure out where can I go.
Most people are married. They don't have a choice. They go where
they have to go with where their wife wants to go. I'm married. I have 2 kids. Actually, they don't have to figure out where their wife wants to go. They have to figure out where their 10-year-old wants to go. Like I will be going to watch that Shri Farhad movie tomorrow. Anyway, that's a story for a different day. But has anybody ever planned their travel this way? Figuring out I have this pot of money, where do I spend it? Now, when we talk about impact of social media, in media strategy. Before that, let me talk about how do people plan their media today. I get so many different requests for pitches where the brand manager would put, I want to do a Diwali campaign, I have 80 lakh rupees. Where do I blow it?
Just give him my number, Just tell him.
So, really the question of impact of social media in media strategy really starts from social media has let brand managers go back, take a step back and think about how can they plan their media from just thinking about what is the channel and how much money I put to it, to what is really the engagement module, what is the objective and what can I get from that medium. So really social media has made social media not just as a Facebook or a LinkedIn or a Twitter, but social media as a conversation medium has made digital go from where it was a technology ad platform, hey, where do I get the best CTR, where do I get the best CPC, to really for people to come in and think about how do I get the best engagement done with my consumers so that I will get the best ROI for my businesses. ROI not necessarily in terms of leads and sales, but ROI from a brand overall perspective. With that, this is how most of the people start with media. Hey, I got money, how do I spend it? It's a kid when you give them a 100 rupee note and they want to figure out, hey, do I buy 2 chocolates? Do I buy 4 chocolates? And what do I do with it? So don't do that. So don't end up like this. When you are looking at impact of, or when you are looking at doing your media planning, really sit down. And we have had a lot of speakers since morning focus on this. Talk about conversations, talk about social media, talk about what is the ROI, what is the engagement module you are building with the customer. Don't build banner ads. Even if you are going to spend money on media, do not build banner ads. Build engagement modules using banner ads. Online behavior patterns, and I wouldn't spend much time on this, all of us. I mean, I'm sure other speakers here can give better numbers than I can. These are copied numbers from the net. The point is the amount of time people are spending on social media in India is increasing, and it is increasing by a huge amount, providing a huge opportunity for us marketeers to go leverage and connect with our customers. Prove that I'm better than traditional media. So when you get into looking at digital, a lot of people just focus on, hey, tell me how will you prove to me that you are better than traditional media? Absolutely not. Social media is not a medium that is different than traditional media overall. Social media is a medium that provides a marketeer with an opportunity to build connectivity between the traditional media, between the social media, between banner advertisements they do, between search that they do, and between all of the other engagement modules, whether it is activations or events or everything else that they do. So really, just go down and think about how will you develop a 360-degree module, which is where social media becomes the central theme of the media strategy for a lot of companies. Has anyone seen the latest Red Label ad? With Akshay Kumar saying, call up this number and tell Sonakshi why Red Label is a more healthy tea? Have people seen that? That's the impact that social media has. It is no longer, your television is no longer a medium that provides your brand value to the customer. It goes out and it asks the customer to come back and engage with me. It's not a competition. So how you view social media is, think about all of the other mediums that you are using and think about social as a converging point for all of these. Think about how you will develop that conversation. And we have had a few examples talked about that since morning as well. Roy showed some fantastic examples of how social media can integrate some of the other mechanisms, some of the TV and the radio and the print and the hoardings and the display advertisements and everything. So what do you do with it? This is how you will want to plan out your media as you go forward. What are your objectives? What is the brand? Is it branding? Are you looking at building reach? Are you looking at building conversations? Or are you really looking at just doing lead generation? So think about what are your objectives before you are looking at starting off a media campaign. Can anybody guess which brand this is? Oops. Yatra spent a lot of money doing this. They even gave equity to Salman Khan. Please don't say make my trip. Okay, so this is Yatra. And this image is really how you want to build a brand salience. And while Yatra did the intersection, or while Yatra did the partnership with Salman Khan as the brand ambassador, we did a variety of, so we manage Yatra as a brand. We did a variety of activities for that using the digital media. We went to the extent of asking people to even put in videos showing their favorite dance step for Salman Khan. We put in conversations with people asking about, hey, what does Salman Khan do for movie X versus Y? What is his favorite dialogue? And other kinds of engagement with people looking at Salman as the brand ambassador. And really, if you will go out in the industry, Salman is really the number one, call it icon, much bigger than, from a marketeer's promotional perspective, much bigger than what a Shah Rukh Khan would get, or much bigger than what anybody else would get in terms of his capability to generate conversations.
He hits people and all.
He hits people. He hits where it matters. Of course, everybody can guess which brand this is. This is good media planning. Everything got out and everything relates to one single aspect. And interestingly, I've had a few conversations with the guys from Airtel. When they started off the Har Friend Zaruri campaign, the thought process was like the 15 or 16 major brand campaigns that Airtel has done over the last 12 to 15 years, this will be similarly a flop. So in fact, when they started the Har Friend Zaruri campaign, there was no plan to make it so big and so large that it will last for a year. They thought it will be a campaign, it will come in, nothing will happen, and it will go away. I remember I was called into the Airtel conference room at 10:30 in the night one day and asked, can you get printed T-shirts for Har Friend Zaruri, because the campaign has suddenly become a hit and we want to launch merchandise for it. Can we get it done in 4 days? And can we launch a microsite where we can sell T-shirts and this, that, and the other? And of course, with telecom and everything, Airtel can't sell the merchandise and everything themselves. They have to go partner with somebody. So that's how they scampered. So really, when they came up with the campaign, it wasn't supposed to be such a big hit. It became a hit, but what Airtel has done really well is they learned from it. It became a hit, they picked it up, and they came up with the Har Friend Zarur Dost campaign. They came up with a new television advertisement. They are doing a lot of activation in social. And this is in some ways the first successful Airtel campaign in the last 15 years. Everybody know what a big disaster their relaunching or rebranding their logo campaign was. So this has been the first major campaign where they have major success with it. Oops. I'm sorry. Does anybody know there is a television show called as The Show About Nothing?
Show about nothing. India TV.
No. There is a television show which is called as The Show About Nothing. In fact, in that particular show, there was once an entire episode where these characters from the show go out and they try to sell to movie producers the concept of a show about nothing. It's kind of their own satire about what goes on and how will they do everything. Seinfeld. It is called The Show About Nothing. I mean, if you will watch the entire series of Seinfeld, it will tell you nothing. It will tell you nothing.
It's like Arnab Goswami's news.
It's about Arnab Goswami's news, yes. Okay. I can't take those liberties like you, Anurag. But yeah, it's called The Show About Nothing. They did an entire episode within the show where they just went to movie producers to sell them the concept of, hey, how about we make a show about nothing? Just 3 or 4 people who live in New York and they just do something. It's got no meaning, it's got no life. I mean, they just do something. And we just continue with that day in and day out. And it is a very, very, very famous show.
Sounds like a lot of CMO friends of mine.
Yep. So, how you want to do your media is consistent communication, step number 1. What is the overall campaign thought? It needs to be consistent in television, it needs to be consistent in digital. One of the problem one of the mistakes a lot of marketeers make right now is they think about a different campaign thought for digital versus a different campaign thought for television. There is no integration. The digital team in most companies, even now, I mean, and companies are improving. There is a good change that is happening. But even now, for a lot of companies, digital is a separate division in itself. That layer needs to be removed. Digital needs to become part of the mainstream marketing planning that any organization does. Choose your mediums and activities. Dhiman was talking about some of the aspects from how do you classify platforms, whether it is a personal platform, whether it is a family platform, whether it is a professional platform. Just choose the platform. Whether you are looking for a speedy interaction or a content or a social search or a visual contest or a long-form content or customized messaging and campaigning, or whether you're actually looking for business from it or whether you're looking for just engagement with your audience. Whatever your objective is, think about what is the consistent communication, and within that think about what are the mediums that you want to utilize and what are the activities you would do. So one example for that will be, if it's a large brand, we normally will tell the brand, when you get into social media, get into social media with a major campaign. A major big idea, which might be a game, which might be an application, which might be some kind of a contest, which can be anything. If you are a small brand, absolutely do not do that. When you get into social media, get in and build conversations with your customers. Slowly get traction. Slowly get to an extent where people now start listening to you. And once people start listening to you, then do your contests and your campaigns and your applications and your games and everything. So it's a different mechanism of how you would want to pursue or how you would want to go ahead as a brand. Interaction. Whether you do interaction through inherently available mediums like a Facebook or a Twitter or a YouTube, or whether you customize interaction through applications and games and blogs and wikis and microsites, etc. And then, how much do you have? What are the mediums that you want to choose? What is your existing community size? All of these aspects needs to be put together, and you come up with the final budget of how you want to plan your media. So, to kind of look at overall ad spending on social is no longer just about social. So Anurag, when you were saying, will you be able to give numbers around, hey, how is social going to increase or decrease in terms of its overall spending? Well, I don't know the answer to that, because social no longer is remaining a social spending. If somebody asks me what is the cost of managing social in terms of interaction for a brand, unless and until you are an ICICI where you have 10,000 interactions that happens with your customers on a daily basis, I would say you need to manage your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your blog, your discussion forums and everything, somewhere between 2 to 4 lakh rupees. Is all combined together, all of these activities would cost a brand. Now you start adding to that your applications, now you start adding to that your engagement modules, now you start adding to that your display media and everything, and the number and the pie and everything starts becoming bigger. We are right now, for example, and the other aspect you asked was, are there digital campaigns that will start ruling how television and everything else works? I can't give details of this. I'll probably 3 months, 4 months later sit down in one of such conferences and talk about how we generated success. But we are right now working on a major campaign with a company where the campaign is purely going to start in digital. Once it starts in digital, just like normally now companies start their campaign on TV and they say, if it will work good, we will bring it on Facebook or look at other things. We're starting a campaign purely in digital, and the working with the company is, if the campaign works out well, we will do mall activations, we will do flash mobs, we will do television advertisements, we will do radio, we will take it to town. But let us start the campaign small on a social medium. Let us see how the campaign is working out, and we will make it bigger. And I as a social marketer, I'm already convinced it will be the talk of the town once the campaign rolls out. But the company is saying, hey, we'll just wait. We'll look at it for the first 30 days, and then we will do a major promotion around that.
Kapil, is it because they have less media, less money for mass media, or they believe digital is the best route? Honest answer. Or a bit of both?
The company doesn't have any shortage of money. If I will tell you the brand, you will say, hey, you are just charging them much lesser for the campaign than you should. It's purely a function of, they say this campaign needs to be started in digital. It needs to be a citizen evangelism exercise first, and then you take it forward and go ahead and kind of do major PRing around that. So let me take another example for that.
How many? You have 2 more minutes.
I'll take 2 more minutes only. How many of you guys know about BRT? Bus Rapid Transit System in Delhi?
What do you know about it?
What do you know about it?
It's a failure.
It's a failure. Anybody else? Started in Pune was a big failure. I'm talking specifically about Delhi. Ahmedabad will tell you it's a good success. But that's a different story.
Narendra Modi, anything he does is look at Godhra. It was a big success too.
If you will ask anybody who has ever traveled or who lives in Delhi or knows anything about Delhi roads, they will tell you BRT is the biggest ever flop that has happened in the travel industry since the beginning of time. They came to us talking about, hey, can you we want, and again, it's a government department, the entire building of BRT takes some lakhs of crores of rupees, so it's not like they have a shortage of funds in terms of how to promote that. When we went in there, we said, hey, we don't want you to do any newspaper, any radio, any television, nothing. Because our research says, moment you utter the word BRT, and I have personally experienced this, I will get on my Skype chat, I will tell a friend, I'm working on a project for BRT, and more often than not, the answer is, what, demolishing it? I'll say, no. Not demolishing it, but actually building a positive perception for it. And when we went out, we said, you utter the word BRT. BRT is one of the tabooed words in India now. You don't want to, specifically in Delhi, you don't want to use the word BRT. When we started the campaign for them, we said, we will only do a digital campaign, and we called the campaign Delhi Loves Buses. It's not a bus rapid transit system we are talking about. We just said Delhi Loves Buses. And I was talking to a chief marketing officer at a major brand, and I was telling them about this campaign, and they said, but it doesn't make any sense. And I said, you grew up in Delhi? Yeah. Did you travel in Delhi buses when you were in college? Yeah. Do you remember this boy that you used to ogle at every day who was in your bus? She said, oh, that. We said, exactly. So what we started doing was, we started the campaign called Delhi Loves Buses, and we started romanticizing the bus. We started talking about experience that people have in the bus. We started talking about how some of the Bollywood movies. Anybody seen, I'm sure a lot of us would have seen that movie, Band Baja Barat? Remember the guy meets that gal in the bus? Okay, we started romanticizing the entire experience. In a 15-day period, the campaign no longer was about anything to do with BRT. The campaign was about buses. The campaign was about how people love traveling in buses, how everybody has experience. I mean, college people, at least in my times, now people have cars and everything. In my times, irrespective of how rich you are, except for 3 or 4 people in the entire college whose dad was like the Prime Minister's principal secretary, everybody would come to college in a bus. So all of people in Delhi has a culture, in our times, had a culture of people traveling in the bus to go to college. So everybody experienced that. And we just took that thought, expanded it further, and built a campaign which was purely Delhi Loves Buses.
Kapil, we have to have him,
sure,
and then the flight.
And then slowly we are building the concept of BRT within that. So as you can see, the campaign is not about what will happen in the television or other medium. It starts digital, and once it gains a good acceptance, we'll slowly build BRT and everything into that. As I said, ad spending is not just social. It's only social if there is seamless sharing, real-time feedback, and it provides a real value to the customer. With that.
Thank you, Kapil.
Thank you.
Yeah, questions at the end. Kunal, you know the last speaker on the last panel was the best. So I'm sure you're the best. You're the last speaker for the evening.
Okay, I'm sure everybody's had a PowerPoint fatigue by now, so I'm going to try and keep it to max 10 minutes. Let me just pull up what I have. All right. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Last session for the day. I'm Kunal. I look after new products and solutions at Google. It's a great opportunity for me to actually talk to you a little bit about how we are thinking about social at Google. While YouTube has existed for a long time and it's a big hit, we are still starting out a new journey with Google+. And I just want to sort of give you some insights into that, what kind of response we are seeing on that. And more importantly, what are the incredibly powerful opportunities social in general can offer for your brands to connect meaningfully with users, right? So I'm going to keep it to that. At the outset, let me say, I think everybody in this room would agree, it's truly hard to connect. I mean, given the explosion of content which has happened, which is happening right now, explosion in the number of websites, portals, people sharing with each other, brands sharing with each other, it's very, very difficult to actually stand out and connect meaningfully. So that's a real problem that we have today, right? The party is only getting bigger. This is not going to go away anytime soon. As new platforms come up, as brands expand even more, as more people join the social networking bandwagon, this is going to be a truly major challenge for brands. And just to give you an example of what's happening on YouTube, 72 hours of content are being uploaded on YouTube every minute. That's the sheer scale of content which is coming onto just one platform every minute, right? So those are some really, really important trends that we need to be aware of as we think about social and how it can add value to our marketing efforts. Having said that, for brands who do manage to break through the clutter and actually connect, there are some good rewards to be reaped. And the reason for that is 77% of brand content is actually being created by consumers online. So if consumers love your brand, if they care about it, they will happily share. That's an outcome of the research that we did globally. 77% of brand content being created by consumers online. And this is quite intuitive, right? I mean, it happens all the time in the offline world. We rely on friends and family for advice whenever we're making purchase decisions. 90% of people trust recommendations from people they know online, right? So if we are able to actually crack the code and build a stellar social presence, there are benefits for you as a brand. So how do you really do this? And what I'm going to do is, before I do this, I'm going to actually introduce to you the core philosophy that we are following at Google as far as social is concerned. We do not believe that social is a destination. All right, that's the bottom line. We do not believe that social needs to be restricted to a particular destination. It's really core human behavior. It really spans everything that we do. Social is something which touches upon every aspect of a user's internet browsing experience, has the potential to touch every aspect of a user's internet browsing behavior, and therefore it should not be restricted to one destination. So that's a fundamental shift that we at Google believe in, and I'll explain to you how that's working out. Our product teams actually did a lot of research, fact-finding, when Google Plus was being developed. It's still very new. It's just less than a year old, and there's a lot of work to be done. But there were 4 major marketing challenges which we are now trying to solve through our social offerings. Number 1, what's really happening in the social media landscape today? The 4 pain points we identified. First one, messages are impersonal, and I'll tell you what that means. Brands today are using social networking platforms as another broadcast medium. That's what we found. That's what brand marketers were saying to us. Anything that gets posted gets sent out to all people who are following that brand, not necessarily to the people who are actually interested in getting updates for a particular topic. So essentially, what we believe is sharing needs to be more nuanced. People share different parts of their lives in the real world with different people, rather than sharing in a broadcast fashion, and that's something which needs to change. Second problem, comments are not conversations. While comments are important, nobody denies the importance of comments as a source of feedback. Comments lack the emotional touch, the impact that a wink or a smile or a frown that typically gets generated in a conversation. So comments are important, but they're not enough. Recommendations get lost. So while all our friends, our family, our relatives end up recommending something or the other online, it happens to all of us, right? Last week I had some people from the Singapore office in Delhi, and I was trying to remember the name of this Chinese restaurant in a place called South Extension in Delhi, which somebody had recommended, and I'd seen an online post regarding that. But I could not figure it out. At that moment of time when I really needed that, I could not source that information. So that's frustrating. Recommendations tend to get lost because there's so much of content which is being uploaded. And the most fundamental thing, something which you touched upon, Kapil, is that marketing today is fragmented. Social today operates in a silo. Right now, what I'm doing in social media does not talk to what I'm doing in search engine marketing, does not talk to what I'm doing in online video. They are independent silos which needs to change. So those are 4 fundamental problems in the social media landscape today which need attention in our view. So here are 4 simple ideas, and then after that I'll take questions from you on that. Number 1, it's very intuitive. It's actually basic marketing 101, basic marketing segmentation principles, but share the right content with the right people. And one of the innovations that we've launched recently is something called circles, and I'll tell you how that works. Again, let me give you a personal example. I was in Singapore a month back, and when I got back, I was asked the obvious question: how was your trip? Right? And different people asked me that question: how was your trip? And the fact is, my response to that question changed based on who was asking me that question. Right? My mom asked me the same question. I said, well, it was great. I said, this is all the great touristy stuff that I did. My boss asked, it was a business trip. My boss asked me the questions, Kunal, how was the trip? Fantastic, great meetings, great presentations. And my friends asked me the same question. I talked about all the great nightlife, the great bars, pubs, etc. that Singapore has that I explored. So the fact is that's how we operate in real life, and digital should not be any different. Unfortunately, today, brands are not able to sort of embrace this particular aspect in the social media landscape today, and that's what we are trying to sort of address. So like I said, responses change based on who's asking you a particular question. So this is where the concept of circles comes in. Has anybody here heard of circles? Yeah? Great, fantastic. So circles are a way of really creating segmented communication going out to the most relevant people who are interested in certain topics that you want to talk to them about. And it's really basic marketing 101, really. It's really about organizing customer groups into different segments, different buckets, and talking to them on a one-on-one basis. For example, a financial services company in the US has two sets of customers. One set of customers who are on the verge of retirement, therefore they're probably looking for retirement advice, right, and tips, etc. And there's another set of young professionals who are probably looking out for their first home. And the kind of information, the kind of communication they need from the same organization is very different. Probably could be related to a new home mortgage calculator. So if I operate in today's social media landscape, essentially everything is going out to everyone, right? Whereas now what we think is that needs to change. It needs to evolve. Communication needs to evolve. And you need to use technologies. Gets to see 4 circles. There are 4 circles, one for IT experts, one for trends, technology enthusiasts, and newsroom. So if you are somebody from the press, you add yourself to the newsroom circle. You don't really care about what's the latest technology that Intel has launched. You just want to get all the PR updates on time. If I'm a prospective employee, if I'm looking for a job at Intel, I'll probably go on to, I think, in fact, they now have another circle which says prospective employees. If I'm interested in that information, I can go ahead and register for that. So Intel has used circles very, very interestingly in a very simple, intuitive manner. The next step, leverage technology to have real conversations. Has anybody heard of Hangouts? Right? So Hangouts is a new feature that we launched sometime last year, no, actually, beginning of this year, wherein you can actually have a live multi-person video chat. Right? And brands overseas and in India have loved it. I'll show you a few examples. I have videos, but I'm not going to play them right now because we're out of time. But the ones that you see there, the top 2 are Indian brands. One is Marico, one is ITC. ITC actually unveiled their new website for Fiamma Devils Men through a Hangout. Okay, they had 8 celebrities on board. They were all each unveiling one unique application on their website through a live Hangout, which was being streamed live on their YouTube channel. So it's a great integration between two platforms, Google Plus and YouTube, which they leveraged. The first image that you see on the top, that's Shraddha Sharma. I don't know. Have you heard of Shraddha Sharma? Yeah.
My story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Shraddha Sharma having a hangout with some of her fans through Marico. And the one below is Cadbury. What Cadbury has done is they've actually done something very interesting. This is a UK example. They've created a taster circle. So whenever they launch a new bar, they actually send out the bars to those people in advance, and they actually schedule a time at which everybody comes together and give feedback on the new flavor before launching it in the market. So that's become very, very successful for them. So brands are using this technology in very, very interesting ways. Number 3. Right, let me ask you this question. How many of you use Google search? I would say about 95% of us, right? How many of you rely on advice from friends and family whenever you have to make a purchase? Doesn't have to be online, could be anywhere. Quite a few, yeah? How about when we combine the two? What if we combine the power of Google search with personal recommendations on the search page? So essentially, if I and Dhiman are connected on Google and I have endorsed a piece of content, if I'm looking for a website and hypothetically I see xyz.com and I have +1 that page, when Dhiman comes and he starts searching for travel options and the same website's page comes up, it'll actually have a personal recommendation from me on the Google search page. Right? So essentially the +1 +1 is an initiative which combines the power and reach of Google search with personal recommendations. And the results have been fantastic. So this is actually how it works. I'm going to skip this. Somebody searching for Android, best new Android phones on Google. That's an ad. And you see all the names of people who've actually +1 that ad. So clearly, at the moment of relevance, when you're looking for that information, you see that ad with people who've actually endorsed it and people who you trust, who you're connected to, you are more likely to respond to that communication. And that's playing out in real case studies that we're noticing. What we found globally and in India is that brands who have launched search campaigns, and this is very relevant for people who are actually running search campaigns at Google right now, have seen a CTR, a click-through rate uplift of 5 to 10% as a result of social annotations. Right. So that's the power of +1 at the zero moment of truth, as we like to call it within Google, when people start looking for information. Yeah. And finally, this relates to the problem that I spoke about at last, which is essentially that social needs to be integrated. There has to be one integrated marketing approach. And social needs to cover everything that you do on digital. You can actually potentially build social equity across the web. And that is our intention at Google, to make the entire web social, whether it's search, whether it's online video, whether it's display advertising, whether it's your YouTube videos or mobile Android apps, maps, anything that you do. Our intention is that, in fact, it's not intention anymore, it's actually playing out. Now you, as a brand, can actually accumulate social equity across all your content across the web, rather than limiting it to one destination. To give you an example, if a brand has a set of YouTube videos which have been uploaded, is also running a search campaign, also has a Google Plus page, and also has some display advertising running, we can actually accumulate all the endorsements, the recommendations, or the +1s which you are getting across all these different pieces and put them into one single social equity number. Right? This is the one which is actually leading to the CTR, the click-through rate uplift on search campaigns that we've seen. Because users who are signed in, and when they start searching, they see personal recommendations from people that they trust, and therefore they are more likely to click on them and respond to those ads. So that's really what's happening as far as the search campaigns are concerned, and the overall web experience that we are trying to build is concerned. So that's it. I hope I've stuck to the 10-minute limit.
Brilliant.
Great. Any questions? Yeah.
What do you do? Who you are? Did you work for Facebook and ask them? That's very
My name is Prasanjeet. I am a small entrepreneur running a small website.
Sure.
I wanted to.
Was like that 8 years back. Never think you're small. You can be big.
We just started a few months back. That's why I'm here looking for the insights. Does the +1 button has some effect or any effect on the search listing? Yeah.
It will. It's going to be one of the 200 plus signals that we actually take into account. The algorithm takes into account while deciding organic listings. So yes, it will. It will be one of the signals.
And there is one more question I wanted to ask the panel. Sir, right from the beginning of the session, all the people in the panel, we have been talking about digital marketing media for the existing businesses. Like they should now enter into digital media for marketing. What about the startups? How do you suggest the startups should go about marketing, given them budget crunch, and there is a limit for everything? It's just a small.
Tell me, then I'll give you a specific.
I've started a small personalized gifts portal, tofaforyou.com. We deal in personalized gifts. We have few clients. Tata Steel is one of them. And we are based in Jamshedpur. I came all the way from Jamshedpur to here just to attend this conference.
And was it worthwhile?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of insights. And I just want to get the answer question, because
Startups don't really, get that kind of guidance.
Yeah, let me try to answer it as short as possible. See, my experience has been last 20 years in large companies. Now I am in a startup. Okay. In fact, if you look at it, conceptually, it is for startups that we have the whole digital and the social media. Because someone actually said, here, content is the hero. It is not the sledgehammer approach of a large corporate, where you spend the 500 crores a month and you will get your reach. Here, if you have an idea, you might be extremely small, but you will still get the reach to the right people. Also, you can do extreme segmentation. In fact, one of the things, future of social is actually where it will be location-based social. So you'll actually have social interaction on your mobile device, mobility, together with location, and instant reaction to that. That's actually the future of social. Yeah. So to answer your question, this is the right time. All of us are at the sweet spot. Take the maximum out of it.
If I can add to that, I'll share with you an example. A hero of mine who I really followed. This gentleman's name is Tony Hsieh. I don't know how many of you have heard of it. Tony Hsieh started a small online shoe company called Zappos.com in US. And when he started out, he might have had the same problem as you are facing today.